What's your next challenge at this place?
The next challenge at that place was just immediately with the prison officers.
Okay.
Take it upon themselves, and they grind you down psychologically.
Yeah.
They taunt you. They have bets on trying to get prisoners to kill themselves,
Kill themselves.
which has been proven in Feltham. That came out a few years
And
ago.
what methods do they use to encourage prisoners to kill themselves?
What they were doing to me in Aylesbury, in the morning, they would come in at 8 o'clock and they would put a milk in on the side. And
On the side of what?
on the side of the table. They'd come in, open the door, and they'd put the milk on the side. And then
So you're in a let's just start a minute. You're in a one-man cell, you said earlier. So I imagine it's like the size of a bus stop shelter or less.
yeah,
And you've got your bunk on one side, and is it the standard combination sink toilet with a little stool table?
Yeah, like a little stool, a chair, a
Is it all bolted down, silver?
all bolted
Yeah,
down.
so it's like the American style.
You've got a steel toilet. And in that cell I was in, I still remember it was B213 right at the end, and all the windows there was no windows.
There's no windows,
No,
no sunlight.
No windows. Just like all the windows were broken and it hasn't been fixed. And when I say freezing, it is freezing.
So the glass is gone.
Gone.
And what is the bars?
Just bars, yeah.
Okay.
And you just put a towel over it, but it's still
Wow,
freezing. I used to
man.
wake up with leaves all over my cell, where leaves used to come in.
Wow, I had no idea.
Freezing, yeah. You're in your
There's no
bed.
temperature control.
No, you're in your bed with socks on your hands, with like wearing a tracksuit under the cover, just freezing,
Yeah,
absolutely
it's like
freezing.
opposite Arizona then.
Um,
So the guard comes in, puts the milk
he puts
on the table.
puts the milk on the side, and then you'll drink it, throw it out the window.
Throw it out the window.
Yeah, you just
That's
throw
the
it-
trash.
That's the trash. Yeah, you throw it out the window, and then they'll just open the door, like 8 of them, and they'll say, "Come downstairs," and you'll go downstairs with them.
And downstairs is the day room.
Downstairs was the day room association. Couple
What
of
does
pool
that look like,
tables,
the day room?
Old, dilapidated.
Did you say pool tables?
Couple of pool tables.
Aren't
yeah.
they weaponized, the sticks?
There's always fights at the pool table.
But a pool ball in a sock.
All the time, yeah, it gets used. What happens on the pool table is you'll say, "I'm next," and then you'll be waiting, and then when it's your turn, someone will just grab the triangle and start setting up the balls, and then you'll say, "What you doing? I'm next," and then you have to fight. You have to fight, and that's the if you're going to play pool, that's what will happen. And people will just stay on. They'll try and victimize you, and you have to fight, and you have to draw blood, and you have to get a weapon, and you have to hurt them. That's what you have to do, and there's no fair rules. You hurt them, you do it from behind, you do it in the dinner queue when they're not looking, because they'll do it to you.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, they'll do it to you. But with the milk, what they've done, they've tricked me, because on the bottom of the milk they write B213, and then they find it on the floor, and
What does that mean?
because they've wrote my cell number on the bottom of the milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they'll drag me down into the office.
Oh, for trashing it.
Yeah, for throwing it. And they'll put you in this kangaroo court type situation. It's not a normal adjudication with a governor. It's just a principal officer, so like a senior officer, sitting there. He won't even look at you. He'll just say, guilty, throwing milk out the window. And they'll say 2 weeks loss of TV. So they'll come and take your TV.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, or within that 2 week period of having no TV, so you've just got your music now, they'll knock on your door and they'll say, "Do you want the gym?" And because you're banged up all the time, you'll say, "Yeah, I want the gym." And then they'll all come for gym, and they'll walk straight past your door and not open your door. So you'll put your bell on, and then they'll wait till the wing's quiet, and then they'll all come up and say, "What's the emergency?"
All right, so for Americans watching this, what does that mean? Put your bell on.
So you've got an emergency cell bell, so you push it.
Okay.
It's supposed to only be for emergencies.
Yeah.
And the officer will come to the door. But in Aylesbury, they just slam the flap and they go, "What's the emergency?" So people use the bell. People misuse it. They say, "Gov, can you go and get me a roll up off number 2?" Or, I need to see like a listener, a Samaritan, I'm suicidal. Or
Yeah.
so it's used for various different things. But yeah, so you put your bell on, and I said to the officer, like, you didn't let me out for gym, so he just slammed the flap. He said, that's not an emergency. 2 weeks more, no TV. And so they're kind of like stitching you up and setting you up. And then what happens is, on the day you're supposed to get your TV back, you'll come out for lunch, because they haven't given it back to you, even though you're supposed to have it back, and they won't give it back to you. And then you ask them again at tea, and they won't give it back to you. And then it gets to 8 o'clock where the night staff are coming on. So you put your bell on because they haven't given it back. And then they'll come to your flat. What's the emergency? And you'll say, I was supposed to get my TV back. They'll say, that's not an emergency. 4 weeks more, no TV. Then they take your radio. Then they take your association off you. And you end up being banged up for 24 hours a day. And you'll come out 3 or 4 nights a week for 10 minutes for a shower. And that's it. Because no one really used to go on the yard there, because it was at 7 a.m. You get about 10 people out there. No one really used to go out there.
That's why they do it early, isn't it? So the guards have to supervise people.
Yeah, probably. And then they grind you down, and then they start escalating it, because it's like a game to them. The officers when I was in Aylesbury were a bunch of guys who seemed to be quite sadistic and brutal, who seemed to get a kick out of coming into that work environment and just kicking the shit out of teenagers. You'd smell alcohol on their breath sometimes. And what they would do, they would open your door, and again, giving you the milk, and they wouldn't put it on the table. So you'd get up half asleep and go to grab it, and they'd pull it back. And then eventually your arm would be like near the door, and then they would just grab your arm and just jump on you and start shouting, violent prisoner in B213, violent prisoner in 213. In Aylesbury, there's probably 15 alarm bells a day, every single day, 7 days a week, 15 alarm bells. And they just come from everywhere, power in numbers, and they all, 40, 50 officers, they all come, and they throw you on the floor. They drag you into the segregation unit, and it's all through corners, no cameras. There was no cameras then, all dark corners, thin staircases. They're smashing your head on the side, giving you little digs. And then they drag you into like a concrete room, like a segregation unit with a concrete slab on the floor. And they throw you on the floor. They pull a knife out, cut your clothes off, strip you naked, and really hurt you. They bring your thumbs back. And it feels so, you feel helpless. You feel terrified, scared. You hear these stories that they've killed people, covered it up. And yeah, you just feel... I'd been restrained in other prisons, but this place was just different. It was just a really horrendous place. And what they do in Aylesbury, they then put you in that cell and they leave you naked on this concrete slab, and you're 18 years old. But what they do in Aylesbury, it's not done then. They come back and taunt you. So they come back to the cell, shaking their keys, opening the flap, and they come back at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, saying, have you had enough? Yeah, is that what you wanted, son? Do you know what I mean? And they grind you down. And now you're in this concrete tomb. It's a concrete tomb. You've got, it's summer, 90 degrees. There's no air. There's no air in the cell. The taps don't run. They just drip, because they've been smashed up so many times and not fixed properly. And the building's so old and the plumbing's so old. And you're living in this room, just going out of your mind. And